Hello, guys, and welcome to the Football Way, where we bring the pub to the internet, or in some countries, we bring the bars to the internet. Talking nothing but football, keeping it raw and uncut. Today, we're gonna go over a little overview of the round of 16 and who's made it and who we expected to, who we did not expect to, and the whole 9 yards. First things first, we're gonna talk about Argentina, the team I chose to win the World Cup. Now, here's the thing. Today, we saw Argentina take on Australia. Now, one thing I will say, I do see the nerves of Argentina still, being a thing. It is still affecting their performance. Now, if you look at key players like Raul de Paul, you look at key players like Leandro Paredes, you look at players like Romero, Christian Romero. These guys has all been affected by the pressure of being the favorites to win the World Cup. You saw from Raul de Paul first game actually against Saudi Arabia. Same thing with Leandro Paredes. We saw how that went. If you look at the game perfectly, these guys had always been individuals who were calm, collected, always seemed like they're in control of their midfield and their surroundings. But coming to the World Cup, you can visibly see the nervousness in Raul de Paul performance, in Leandro Paredes performance in the World Cup, especially against Saudi Arabia. Now, I know Paredes had a little bit of injury issue, so did Christian Romero for Tottenham. However, I feel like the coach should not have started them. I do. I feel like the coach should not have started them. But these are individuals who have been very instrumental when they were playing throughout the qualifying or the Copa America. So it's natural as a coach that you would think to, include them in the starting lineup. But you can visibly tell that the nerve of being one of the favorite, probably being associated to Lionel Messi, because that comes with a heavy load. You can see the pressure on the guys as a whole. I'm naming these few individuals because these individuals has always been people who has been extremely instrumental, with the exception of Giovanni Lo Celso. So seeing them and seeing how they have been very nervous, is actually been a little bit of an imbalance in the team. I do enjoy Scaloni's idea of employing other individuals to fill that gaps, like Enzo Fernandez of Benfica, who actually is a beast. I love this kid. McAllister has actually impressed me during the World Cup than he did in the English league, with what's their name? Brighton. So that should clearly tell you something, that these guys are willing to step up. But what I will say, the last thing I will say about Argentina is, in order for them to get better, one thing they need to do is stop trying to look for Lionel Messi, because we all know throughout the years, even for club and country, that has been a coach's best accomplishment. When a coach is able to block the influence of Lionel Messi. So I think that with the individual talent that they have, what they need to do is, in order for Argentina to win this World Cup, one thing they need to do is they need to literally try to play mind games with their opponents. Try not to look for Lionel Messi. Find Lautaro Martinez, which is another topic. Find Alvarez. Okay, find those other players that's running in that can score and affect the game. Lautaro, I don't know what's been going on with Lautaro, but this is not the Lautaro that we know. And I know that he's going to come back. But Lautaro Martinez at this point has, I'm not sure if his confidence has been lost because he got caught off guard with being replaced with out with Alvarez, but he needs to step it up. And I believe he will, because this kid has a heart of the lion. He does. Okay. Now, one thing that will really make Argentina win this World Cup is to be unpredictable. Unpredictable meaning stop or limit trying to find Lionel Messi. Use your other players that can score for you. Use your other players that can create chances for you, as opposed to breaking the attack down, simply trying to find Messi, who is preoccupied with trying to find spaces because he's being man-marked, not by one, but two players, sometimes three players. That is the best way and only way that Argentina can win this World Cup. Now, we have had an exciting series so far. We've had African teams, like I mentioned from my last video, there wasn't really much trust in them. But for everyone who has viewed this World Cup, there are many things African teams need to work on. One, finishing. African teams has never been the team that can finish. Even dating from back in the Didier Drogba, George Weah times, African players has never been the types that can finish. African players are good at dribbling, very strong, very fast, but finishing has never been a thing. Being creative in a tight space has never been a thing. And these are things that you will need. And another thing, being decisive under pressure has never been a thing. These are things that African countries will need to work on in order for them to achieve a World Cup goal. We have seen that over the years, but more specifically, it has been exhibited in the 2022 World Cup. We see that many times, from the Asamoah Gyan penalty against Uruguay, till now, where we have Ghana that cannot finish or put a game away. These are things that African countries need to work on. The touches is not there, and it's understandable because these guys have to go to the European countries to develop these traits. Because back home, the intellect, the football idea is not there. Therefore, they have to have their eyes open in another country that can introduce them to football being more than just being strength, being fast, being physical, and being skillful as far as dribbling. But you also have to do more as far as your composure in tight spaces, your creativity in tight spaces, your ball control in tight spaces, everything under pressure, and lastly, your finishing. Now, it is no surprise to me from my last video, like I said, the likes of Morocco, who they are give or take. However, when they are in the mood, they can be a threat. But teams such as Cameroon, Senegal has never really been a threat in the World Cup in the past because of so much respect or fear that they have for these teams. Now, we see that today. A lot of them are out. Take, for example, Abu Bakar from Cameroon. Cameroon needed 2 goals to advance. This guy scored 1 goal and he is satisfied to sacrifice a red card because he scored against Brazil. That has to change. The discipline has to be there. The first few games he did not start. And if I was the coach, honestly speaking, the coach should have really substituted him after the first game. But it is the mentality. Now, from this World Cup, it's been determined, especially with social media and everything and the internet being so popularized worldwide, we realize now that African teams has a lot to work on, and we cannot just blame it on the FA We cannot. Because we've had people like the Didier Drogba's, Samuel Eto'o, who had to learn finishing and these idea of football in a foreign land, in Europe. So now that was and is the downfall of African countries succeeding in the World Cup. Moving on to the rest of the teams. Germany. Germany has, like I said from my last video, Germany has never been a threat. Has never been a threat. Germany would never be a threat. Not just because they did not have a world-class finisher. Miroslav Klose was not a world-class finisher, like I mentioned. However, he had his intelligence on the field that really helped them. Okay? Prior to that, when Klose was battling for the forward position, he was not the best finisher, but yet he is the most goal scorer with 13 goals in the World Cup. That should tell us something. Germany has never been good. Germany has never been a threat in the World Cup. So it is no surprise that they exited the World Cup like I mentioned in my previous video. Portugal. Another thing, Portugal. Portugal has always been riding on what I would say a lifeline. But Portugal is not a threat. Portugal has never been a threat. Now they're relying. One thing I like about them is they do not solely rely on Cristiano, but at times they do. And they do because he is a world-class player. He is a Ballon d'Or winner, and he deserves recognition. However, other players are stepping up. They're not just only looking for Cristiano. And that is what I feel like something Argentina needs to adapt. Ghana, I would say Ghana fooled me, but they did not. Because, like I said in my previous video, Ghana do not have the team of old. That killer spirit. That forward, such as Asamoah Gyan, who not just through his goal scoring, but his style of play will blend the teams together. Ghana do not have that. And we see defensively, which is every African teams, defensively, they are weak. Defensively, they are not strong enough. African teams tend to slack off. The lack of concentration for 90 minutes is never in their picture. And that is something that African teams need to work on if they ever think about winning a World Cup. 90 minutes plus overtime. You have to be fully concentrated. The coach down to the players and the substitute. I'm proud of South Korea. I'm proud of Japan. Like I mentioned, those are not a team you can sleep on. Because if you sleep on those guys, they will punish you. Those guys are skillful. They have the energy. They are well-disciplined. And they have finishing skills. Under pressure, they are calm. Every attribute that you need to win a football match, they have it. And it's been exhibited today. We had Uruguay crying going home at the expense of South Korea. We had Japan advancing at the expense of Ghana, who failed to capitalize, or Uruguay, who failed to capitalize at the beginning. It cannot be so. It cannot be so. I do believe, guys, this World Cup has been very intriguing, but that is the beauty of the sport. That is the beauty of the sport. You cannot dictate who's going to win. We saw Australia today. Australia gave Argentina war. Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. Why? Like I mentioned in my last video, Saudi Arabia, just like Japan, has never been a team that plays weak teams. They've always been a team, if they do not have Germany, they have Argentina, they have Brazil. They always have teams that really taught them what it's like to participate in the World Cup. So Saudi Arabia beating Argentina was no surprise to me. Not to mention Argentina having that much pressure on them as a whole because they are one of the favorites to win. Saudi Arabia was not going to, they were not going to just sleep and accept that. Throughout the years they have. And I would like to give much respect and applaud to the coach because he really set them up well. Now, granted, based on his experience, he's not quite there yet. However, he set them up well. You have players that could finish. You have a defense that was strong and fast. You had players in the midfield that could dominate, press you, and recover. Lastly, you had players that could finish from various angles. You saw what they did to Poland. That should tell you something of their mindset. So far, the round of 16, yes, I had a few errors, guys. I do apologize. I'm only human. I'm not perfect. But overall, the teams that have made it to the round of 16 and beyond the quarterfinals, there's no surprise. The U.S. had a lot of hype behind them. The USA, United States of America, had one of the best midfield in the World Cup. Musa, McKinney, and what's his name? Aronson. Good players. Very versatile. Can move. Good players. Especially Musa. Are very good players. Understand positioning, understand timing. Unfortunately, they're not good enough. Now, I've heard some of my comments saying things like if the US had a good forward, things would have been better. Truthfully, a good forward, a striker, the best, even Lewandowski would not have helped the United States of America because they're just simply not that good. Football, intellectual-wise, is not quite in this country yet. We look at Croatia. Look at Croatia. Age is not in their favor, but the intellect is in their favor. Like I mentioned from my last video. These guys are pretty much one of the untouchable teams in the World Cup, and that is for a reason. The sense is there. The idea is there. You're going to beat anybody. Look what happened. Okay. So far, I've been enjoying the games. It's been unpredictable. Underdogs beating favorites. Favorites beating underdogs. Uruguay, I do feel like they left it late. But that's unfortunate. That is the game of football. Mr. Suarez, Cavani, Teixeira is actually one of my favorite midfielders. Valverde, if he did not play for Real Madrid, one of my favorite midfielders. But, you know, these guys have potential. They do. They do. They just need the right structure. The right structure, the right organization to have them be the World Cup or the football powerhouse that we have an idea that they can be. You know, we have Japan. Like I said, Japan was never going to be a joke. Cameroon was going to be a joke because, truthfully speaking, they've never really been that impressive. Not disciplined at all. Senegal, with Sadio Mane, would have been even more of a threat. But it's just not good enough. I am proud of Morocco. Morocco from Africa seem to be the most well organized team as far as togetherness than any other African country back home, provided if they can work on their finishing and their style of play in tight spaces. You need that in a football game because for 90 minutes, no team is just going to let you do what you want to do. No team. I don't, like I said, it is no surprise to me that the team that's gotten out um uh deserve to be in. But truthfully speaking, football is also one unpredictable sports. It's crazy though that the US, now one thing, especially living in America, it is very intriguing, and I have yet to figure this part out. They do have confidence. Confidence comes from your belief, but confidence can also be something that will fool you. The U.S. national team seem to have so much confidence that they could beat Grenada today, or they could beat Jamaica today and think they would win the World Cup. No, not at all. And that is something that is a detriment to their progress. In addition to the fact that in a country where money speaks over everything else, investment will have to be a thing. You cannot not invest in these players and expect to win World Cup. You can believe what you want. You really can. You can believe that the Super Bowl is the most watched, the most yearned after sport in the world. But in all reality, you're not even close. You can think the World Series is one of the most sought after sport in the world. But reality speaks. It is not the case. Therefore, in order for you to be on the World Cup level, you will have to invest. And from a country that speaks about financial, that's all about money, you have to invest financially into that sport, or else the weakest team will beat you. The weakest teams will beat you. If the U.S. had played Saudi Arabia would have beat the shit out of the U.S. because they're not that good. Yes, the midfield was great. The midfield was one of the best. But we saw what happened when the midfield played against a team that was way better, or slightly better, I should say, being Holland. We saw that. England played it safe against the U.S. England played it really safe. Why? Because the English had more to lose. If the U.S. had beaten England, what would have happened? There would have been banner in the sky about how the English team could not beat the U.S. Americans are very supportive of their sports and their kind. Sometimes it's too much positivity, but I guess there's no such. That's up in the air. However, what I will say is this: they would not have let that go that the U.S. beat England. So I do not fault England for playing it safe. Phil Foden did not touch the pitch at all. If Phil Foden had touched that pitch, the English team would have beaten the U.S. national team. Easily. Trent Alexander did not touch the pitch. Mason Mount was playing the number 10 role, which indicated that Southgate was trying to play it safe because Mason Mount is very defensive. He is offensive as well and very much a threat offensively. However, he is very defensive when it comes to the English team not having the ball, which is understandable why he went with Mason Mount. He was prepared for the pressure. Therefore, he displayed a team that would be up for the pressure. Luke Shaw is not a Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's not. He is not going to go attacking. He is not going to give you that killer pass. But defensively, he's got that English heart. And that's why he went with them. But because of that draw with English and the little pass against Iran, the USA felt like they were in a good position to go further, and which is not the case. But I will say this. They were always at the advantage because the United States of America has always been a team that not a lot is expected out of. Belgium, like I say in my last video, Belgium is a joke. Just like the previous English national team or England national team with Michael Owens, Lampard, Gerrard, Ferdinand, they were all a joke. Belgium was the new English national team. They were all a joke. They were. I honestly feel like their head coach was not the man for the job. Thierry Henry, being the French guy, being part of their coaching staff, definitely did not help. Romelu Lukaku, hard to you, my guy, because on the field things happen. But man, you should not have went to Chelsea. Had you not went to Chelsea and remained at Inter Milan, you, my boy, he would have had the same clinical Lukaku that we saw at Inter. But in the game of football, when you take your break, it messes you up. When you don't have that confidence, it messes you up. That's just it. There's nothing to it. A defense can only hold up for so long. We saw in the case of Argentina. You missing chances, being offsides over and over. A defense can only hold for so long. But I do believe that moving on from the round of 16 to the quarterfinals is gonna be a lot of good games. It's gonna be a lot of good games. The teams that were supposed to be out are out. Every team, it's not just because of it's just football scenario, but every team that's deserved to be out, they're out right now. Uruguay was never going to make it far. Qatar definitely was not going to make it far. There's just nothing. Every flaws I mentioned from my previous video, every flaws that I mentioned from my previous video has been the same thing that has been detriment to these teams progressing or these teams being close to being a failure. Holland is going to be the next one. Holland can try, yes, but they do not have those type of players to carry them further. You saw what happened with France. France had to play Camavinga at right back. Like I mentioned, the fact that they took a lot of center defenders and very few outside backs. France took the opportunity to play a central midfielder at a right back. And I understand the strategy. You know, there could have been some adjustments, even using Camavinga as a right back. But they didn't come well equipped. Brazil, we saw what happened to Brazil. We obviously know Brazil's second team is not it. Even when you bring their first team on, they're not going to rescue you. Brazil is not unbeatable. Portugal is not unbeatable. England is not unbeatable. Argentina right now is trying to get their feet wet. Argentina right now is shredding off the nerves. That's what they're doing. Because there were so much of the favorites. They had so much pressure on them now. They have been spending game after game shredding off the nerves. That's what it has been. Look at Raul de Paul, like I mentioned. I personally wouldn't start Otamendi, but he is a rugged player, so he's needed. But so is Martinez. I would really pick Romero and Martinez as my central backs. And if I have to switch it up, I put Martinez in midfield. After all, that was his main position prior to being switched over to a central defender. I don't know about you guys, but I've been enjoying the World Cup. It's been beautiful. It is a beautiful game of football. And drop your comments. Let me know what you think so far. There will be more video about the other teams not mentioned, but I would like you guys to tell me what you think. I really would like to. Who you have advancing so far in the tournament. Who you even have winning the tournament. Maybe your perception has changed. Let me know who you have winning the tournament. Let me know who you have advancing to the final. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell button. That lets you know, when I drop a new video, we can get it popping. I love you guys, man. Thanks you guys for supporting. I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate it. It do not take a lot out of your time, and yet you respect me to do that. And I appreciate you guys. And I hope to come up with nothing but the best content for you guys. Cheers to the World Cup. Football way. We bring nothing but the best, raw and uncut, talking about nothing but football.